Over to you. Let's give him a round of applause. He's clean, he's dry.
Thank you. Yes, I am clean and dry. So, it's obviously a privilege to share, to come and share a word with you. And today, really, I want to talk about the heartbeat of the house. For me, this is one of the things that talks of what's at the centre of what we are. When you think about the human body, and the way the human body works, and the heart is a massive muscle in that, the way the human heart works. If the heart stops working, we're in trouble, aren't we? And we think about what we should be about as a church. This is what this message really is about. And today, I think, actually, what we've seen is an example of that. For me, I am made with the dessert today, not the main course. The main course is what we saw in Tom making the decision that he made and the witness that he did. Absolutely powerful and amazing. And for me, that really speaks of what our heartbeat is as a house. And let me expand on that a little bit, because I haven't got that long. Let me move through. So thinking about the whole idea of a heartbeat. Now, I'm not a medical professional. I know there are medical professionals in the church, and there are some here today, some current and some previous medical professionals who would have greater knowledge tonight. But in terms of what I've read and aware of, when it comes to the heartbeat begins with a spark of electricity. So in our bodies we have electricity, and I find that in itself is mind-blowing and incredible, the fact that there is electricity going on inside our bodies. And we think about the discovery of electricity by whoever it was, and my history fails me, or apparently the discovery of electricity, actually it was in our bodies all the time. Interesting, isn't it? So it begins with a spark of electricity, a spark, something happening, initiates a process. And then I read up on other things, well, I won't bore you with those. It was interesting for me to read. I thought, oh, that's interesting, okay, that happens. There's that part of the heart, and there's this, and there's that. And yeah, really interesting, but not for us today. The point is the heart operates on a certain basis. We as a church should operate on a certain basis. There should be things that are central to us as a house, as a church, and there are things that are central to the body, and the heart is one of those things. Let's think about the definition of a heartbeat. A heartbeat is, it's described as the pulsation, or for want of a different word, beat, throb, or vibration of the heart. That's what heartbeat is. Or, it's a single pulsation of the heart, so one single heartbeat. It's a single throb or vibration of the heart. And here's one that was really interesting to me, that actually, without me realising it would be the case, but knowing to some extent it would be, here's one of the other meanings. An animating or vital unifying force, bringing something to life. When you animate something, you bring it to life, don't you? You can have a drawing. If you animate it, it means you give it movement, you give it life, you give it character. And it says an animating, something that gives life, so the heartbeat does this, or it says it's a vital, unifying force. I find that fascinating. A vital, unifying force. So if we think about the heartbeat of the house, what is the vital, unifying force of the house, of this house? What is that? What is that about? Well, again, I said to you that already, we've seen an example of that. In the witness today, the public witness today of Tom, is that, for me, strip everything away, all of the stuff, all of the lights, all of the media, all of the... Let's not dismiss all of those things, but strip all of those things away. What does it ultimately come down to? We as a house comes down to exactly what we saw today. A decision, somebody making a decision to come closer to God, to say, me and God are doing this journey together. That's what all of this comes down to. That's what our lives come down to. Strip it all away, all the complexities, all the stuff. And for those who've been in church life for a long time, you know, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of machinery that goes on in church life to make it work. And a lot of people who volunteer in this church, we are a high volunteer church. You know, a lot of you, most of you here are involved on some level. It's absolutely amazing. A lot of churches don't work that way. They don't have that many who are operating on that level, who are volunteering, but we do in this church. And that's a credit to you. There's a lot of machinery, a lot of mechanism, a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff. We at the leadership team often we find ourselves talking about a lot of just stuff that's very ordinary, very basic. But actually what it's all about is this unifying thing, this thing that we are aiming for, which is for people to come to know God. So here's a question for you, some questions for you. Therefore, what is our unifying force? What is our vital unifying force? I've got a bit more slack there, thank you. What is our vital unifying force? What makes our heartbeat as a church? What makes the blood pulse through our veins as a house? What is that? And maybe today's it might have felt very ordinary for you. I hope it didn't because of what happened today. Or maybe it's another Sunday and it maybe feels very ordinary. It maybe isn't a specific thing that happens. Maybe it feels very ordinary. But my intent today is to maybe just help to zero our minds into what is the thing that we are really about. What is our central issue? What is our central aim? What are we here for? What are we about? Of course, we would say the unifying factor for us is God, obviously. And I hope everybody here would say that. If today you're here and you don't say that, we pray that you do. You pray that you come to that revelation, that you know that God is the thing that unifies you with us. But here's the answer. Here's the details of the answer of what is our heartbeat. Here for me is what the details are. The things that excite, the things that motivate, the things that drive us as a house, as a people, for me is what this heartbeat is about. See, an example for you and for me would be, in my house right now, there are things that involve a heartbeat. The things that are the heartbeat of our house are our children. Very obviously, we've got 2 young children, as you know, and they are the dominating force in our house. Dominating force of the mood. If they're not happy, the household is not happy. If they are quiet, the house is quiet. If they are loud, the house is loud. But we're in a position now where if they do something new, that's like, oh, they did something new, oh, that was good. So the heartbeat of our house very much pulses with the things that happen, the new things that happen. Oh, somebody said this today. Oh, somebody's able to do this now. Oh, somebody's walking now. Somebody has had a dry night. Oh, this is exciting. But these are the things that make our household pulse and beat, and it's like the rhythm and the beat of our house is about these things. So, for instance, one of the things that happened in our house very recently is that our daughter, Kadisha, said her brother's name for the first time. Just in the last few weeks, she said her brother's name. I was like, oh, wow. I was like, oh, really? Oh, can you say it again? Okay. And you have to say it again and repeat it to the point of that they would normally get bored, but you're not bored because you like to hear it. You're like, wow, that's amazing, isn't it? Now, right now that's quite exciting for us. That's like, oh, that's good. I'm sure very soon that will become the bane of our existence because already the other child of our household, young Judah there, can say his sister's name. Well, not properly, don't tell him that, but not fully properly, he'll get there. But you'll suddenly hear now, you'll hear, Kalisha! Because she's done something. And I'm sure soon it will be, Judah! We'll be hearing an exclamation saying he's done something. Rather than having to ask, we'll know that he's done something. But the point is, that's something new that's happened, and the heartbeat of our house is about these things, these new exciting things that are happening that we're enjoying. And we're saying, oh, this is good, isn't it? This is exciting. Oh, look at what's happened there. And new life. A family as a whole, its heartbeat and what excites it is about new life, isn't it? We experienced that a year ago as a family, but our wider family experienced that because Kadisha is the most recent addition to our household. Our wider family, should I say, is the most recent addition, and so it was all kind of excitement, and the last few years have been about those new births because Becky's brother has also had children at a similar time. So the last kind of 5 or 6 years have been about the addition of new life and going to the hospital and birthdays, etc., etc. Rhythm, pulse, excitement, newness. This is good, isn't it? So if we think about us as a house, what would that represent for us? What would that mean for us as a house, as a church? A new arrival, a new life, a new decision. Shouldn't actually that be our heartbeat, the thing that excites us and what we're ultimately about? Yes, there is the ordinary, the day-to-day and the things that we've got to do. But let's not get lost in that. I spoke to my team about it recently, to Epic, about the whole fact that we have to remember the reason why we do what we do. That ultimately has to come down to young people connecting with God. Has to come down to that. All the other stuff doesn't matter if it gets in the way of that. it can't matter if it gets in the way of that, if it's an interruption, if it's a distraction to young people connecting with God. And so we have to learn to balance and put things in priority and put things in position so that we know that, okay, this isn't now a greater priority than young people connecting with God. Yeah, it's great that we do that, but actually it's more important that young people connect with God. And it's more important here that people come to know Christ, even more than, I say this, even more than maybe the music sounds a certain way. The music is part of that, and I'm saying that as one of the musicians. It's part of that. The media being a certain way, it's part of that. It's all part of the picture. It all aims towards the same thing. But it can't be instead of people connecting with God. It can't replace that. So there are numerous verses here that for me talk about the New Testament church, when the church came to being in the church, and shows me what the heartbeat of the church was then. And there are verses here, for instance, Acts 2 verse 41 says this: those who accepted his message were baptized, and about 3,000 were added to their number that day. Acts 2 verse 47, and the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Acts 6 verse 7, so the word of God spread. The number of disciples in Jerusalem increased rapidly, and a large number of priests became obedient to the faith. The heartbeat of the church was about decisions, new decisions, growth, expansion. It was frightening to the establishment that the church was doing what it was doing. But that's what it ran on. It ran on that pulse and that passion. New life. Come and be baptized. Come and experience the Holy Spirit. You see it all over Acts. If you read it for yourself, I encourage you to read it again, Acts, because it's just such a great picture of what the church should be. Not what it has been, because sometimes it can be read as a history book of that's what the church was. No, this is what the church is. This is what the church is, and we want to live that out, don't we? We want to be a representation of that. So for me, it zeroes down to these things. That's the big picture of what the church is and maybe what our pulse should be. But when it comes down to maybe individual stories, let's think about it like this very quickly. Individual stories. We have one today. We had Tom's story. We look in the Bible, there's plenty of examples, but it's some examples here for me what our heartbeat should be about, what should make our heart beat faster. Luke 19 verse 9. If you read verses 1 to 10, it talks a story of a man who came to know God. And he found new purpose and direction through his decision. Now that was Zacchaeus. If you read it for yourselves, Luke 19, it's the story of Zacchaeus. And it's been spoken of many times. I've known of it since I was a boy. It was something we spoke about in Sunday school and so on. It's a classic story. Zacchaeus the tax collector. But here's the thing that I love, the verse that, I'm going to read this particular verse because this is the one that stands out to me. After all the story of Zacchaeus, the fact that we know that he was a short man and he climbed a tree to see Jesus because he knew that he needed to see Jesus. There was something about Jesus that he was drawn to. We know many people felt that way. And we knew that he came from the tax collector, which would have been a lowly position in the sense that people wouldn't have trusted him, he wouldn't have been respected in that way, he would have been feared, he would have maybe even been despised because tax collectors, come on, who even likes the tax man now? Come on, let's be honest. They've got a job to do like all of us, but it grates a bit, doesn't it? You get that paycheck and there's that amount of tax taken out. It's a disgrace. Anyway, so he was a tax collector, not in a great position. But Jesus came and found him. And it says this, that when Zacchaeus had found him and Jesus had seen him, and it says in verse 9 of Luke 19, it says, Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save what was lost. So this man too, salvation has come to this house. So just making that decision to come to Jesus, I need to see Jesus, let me see Jesus, let me talk to Jesus, let me look at him. Just that decision, Jesus declared over him that salvation has come to your house. Wow, big statement. So this man who was missing something in his life, I believe, he would have maybe been successful, a tax collector, stole from people, had a lot of money, he was doing all right for himself. Yeah, that's okay, isn't it? But actually, there was something missing. He was searching for something, and he found it when he found Jesus. So he was missing something. He found new hope. He found new purpose. He said that he would go and he would change. If he cheated people, he would give them their money back. He found new purpose, new direction. He may have ended up a rich and lonely person if it had not been for that encounter with God, with Jesus. Luke 8, verse 27 to 33. Read this story here. Another individual life that's just affected by God. And this one I find incredible. I think I'd recommend you read this, about the demon-possessed man. Now what it tells us about this man is that he used to roam around, and this was interesting because it's not the only account of a demon-possessed man in the Bible there. There are a couple of accounts, but this one in particular talks about a man who effectively was so demonized, so affected, so bound, that he couldn't be bound. It says that when he was chained up by the people, so he would go mad and do something and be very dangerous and worrying for people. This is a reality of life. And in those days, they decided to chain him up. What the Bible tells us is that he would break free of his chains. It says for a long time, this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs. It said that when he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet. "What do you want with me?" So he knew that something about Jesus, something in him, knew that Jesus was the key to freedom. And actually, the demon knew that. The demon was worried. The demon was concerned. And we know that the end of the story is that he found freedom. It says that many times the demon had seized the man, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken his chains and had been driven out by the demon into solitary places. So such was the nature of his demonic possession. He would just break chains that were put on him to control him. He'd break them and go off into the wilderness and do what he wanted, but be alone and be trapped. He was still trapped, he was still chained actually, even though physically he wasn't chained. So Jesus came along and in an instant his authority and his power came and released this man from the demon. The demon couldn't stand in front of Jesus, couldn't bind the man any longer, he had to go. And so this man found freedom. Yeah, he found a new realm of possibility in his life, because here's what's interesting to me. When you think about the story of homeless people, and you pass them all the time, don't you? So especially if you work in London, but there are homeless people here as well in Basel, we know, because we are helping to support them ourselves as part of Churches Together initiative. We're helping to support them. But if you walk past somebody, a homeless person, especially the older they are, there's often an amazing story there. Some of these people have been doctors, brain surgeons, all kinds of things. There are specific stories you can read about of the history of these homeless people. And many of these homeless people have mental health difficulties, because it often comes that they have drugs and mental health difficulties because of the condition of being homeless. Sometimes them getting into some kind of condition has brought them to being homeless. Maybe they did have a breakdown that made them homeless. The point is they were successful at one point. Maybe this man was successful. We don't know his past. We don't know what he was before he was demon possessed. He might have been a ruler of a household. He might have had servants after him, and then one day it all just went wrong and he went off into the wilderness because he became demon possessed. Whatever he opened himself up to, whatever happened, that was all over. We don't know what that was. The point remains is that now that the demon was gone, new possibilities came. He could now be restored to whatever he was. If he wasn't anybody, if he didn't have anything, he now had possibility to be something. He could build a family if he didn't have a family. He could have had a family restored to him if he lost that because he was demon possessed. But this was an encounter that he had with Jesus, and it changed his life. Finally, in Acts 3, there's an account here. Acts 3 talks about the beggar. And the beggar cried out for Jesus, and he was sat in the temple courts, and he cried out to Jesus. He cried out to Peter and John, the apostles, and they were walking, and he walked past them. Now, in those times, if you were a beggar, it could have been for all kinds of reasons. In his case, because he was crippled. There was no welfare system, no support system. It's great that we have that now. I think it's right that we have that. But in those days, they wouldn't have had that. And even still now, it's arguable that in certain countries, they still don't have a welfare system to support people. And so, his life was effectively going to be that forever. But, he came across Peter and John. And he cried out to them and said, Peter and John said, "Look at us." He says, the man gave him their attention because that's what he wanted. "Silver and gold we do not have," it says, but this is what Peter said. "But what I have I give to you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk." Taking him in his right hand, he helped him up, and instantly the man's feet and ankles became strong. This is Acts 3, verse 7. Verse 8, it says, "He jumped to his feet and began to walk. Then he went with them into the temple courts, walking and jumping and praising God." And when all the people saw him, they recognized him as the same man who'd been sitting at the temple gate. They knew, that's the guy that was the beggar. Look at him now. A life transformed. A life transformed because of an encounter ultimately with God. God working through disciples. So our heartbeat, for me, needs to be about these individual stories. As a church, we need to have the stories and the accounts. And for many of you here, if you're here, I know that you are those stories. You have those stories of that you came across God and you discovered Him and your life was changed and transformed. But actually, we want more of that, don't we? The heartbeat of this church needs to be more and more stories and accounts of people who were beggars, or people who were crippled, or people who were bound in chains and that became free. And then they come here and they bear witness and they get baptized and they know a new free life. Just finally, as I close here, I'm interested by this particular text. It talks about Jesus, the evidence of Jesus. I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant because of these reasons. It talks about the evidence of Jesus. And John the Baptist came before Jesus, and John spoke about Jesus. He spoke that Jesus was coming. So he knew, he was in anticipation of this Jesus that would come. And it tells us this, that in verse 2, when John, who was in prison, heard about the deeds of the Messiah, so Jesus, so the person he was talking about, he was prophesying about, he heard that he was now here doing things. He thought, is this the one? Is he him? Because he said he heard about the deeds and the things that he was doing. He sent his disciples to ask him, are you the one to come, or should we expect someone else? Are you the real deal? Are you the one? And Jesus replied, go back and report to John what you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, those who have leprosy are cleansed, the deaf hear, and the dead are raised. And the good news is proclaimed to the poor. The heartbeat of our house should be about these things. The reality of how we do church should have these accounts in us all the time. Maybe this seems far removed from us. I speak this out of what I know from what the Word says. Not because I see this as a daily reality, but I just have a heart and a desire that this would be what we still are motivated about and get hungry about, to say this is what it all has to come down to. Whether somebody sits in a certain seat or not is irrelevant. Whether maybe there's a certain particular thing that happens. Sometimes we get hung up about the wrong things, we really do. I say that myself because I can be subject to that myself. Has to come down to the thing that gets us hot under the collar, the thing that we get bothered about, irritated about, is whether people come to know God, whether the blind see, whether the lame walk, whether those who have leprosy are cleansed, whether the deaf hear, whether people hear the good news proclaimed and respond to it. That's what we have to get bothered about. That has to be our heartbeat as a church. There needs to be more Toms, more and more Toms that come and say, let me show you what God has done in my life. More women at the well who say, come see a man who told me all I did. We can give that testimony, but we need more of others who will do that. The characteristics of the church are these things. Isaiah 61 tells us about this, that the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. It's repeated in Luke 4. Jesus reads it from the scroll. Luke 4, he quotes it. Isaiah 61 says, the Spirit of the Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and to release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favour and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, for the display of his splendour. Let me just encourage you today with this, that today we have seen a witness of what I believe it should be our heartbeat, of a life that's been captured by God. There is no turning back for Tom. If you know Tom and if you speak to him on an individual level, I don't say go and descend on him today, I'm not saying that, but I know that I get that. I've been a Christian a long time, and the excitement that Tom has motivates me and stirs me. We want more and more of that. More and more people that come in and are stirred and are hungry, and that's what our heart should be about. That's what we should care about, ultimately. And we can be in a different place from different times for different reasons, because maybe we've just got stuff going on, things are happening, maybe we get down and we get disillusioned with things. The Bible says, do not lose heart, do not be weary in doing good. Let's not be weary in doing what we're doing, church. Let's be hungry, let's have our heartbeats continue and get stronger and motivated by the thought of more and more people coming to connect with God, coming to know God. Amen? That's what I believe is the heartbeat of our house, and should be the heartbeat of our house. It's exactly what we've seen today. People ultimately connecting with God and saying, there is no turning back for me. Amen? Amen. Well, let's just pray. And we will finish very soon. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for the central issue, the central theme that drives and motivates us, which is people connecting with you. We thank you, God, that you have laid that in place, that you have given us the great job and the great commission of being responsible for that, of helping to connect people with you. So Lord, we continue, Lord, to be motivated by that. We declare this over ourselves again, that we will be obedient to that commission, to that role, to that job. And Lord, our house, this house will beat, its heartbeat will be to see people connect with you. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Amen.